Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, the non-NIST folks, I'm Willie May, and I'm the Associate Director for Laboratory Programs here at NIST. And it is indeed a pleasure to welcome the distinguished Governor of Maryland, Governor Martin J. O'Malley, back to NIST. We've never had a governor of Maryland to visit our campus as often as Governor O'Malley has, who's visited us 3 times, I think.
About that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We sincerely appreciate his support of and interest in NIST. I think it's fair to call Governor O'Malley the cybersecurity governor. He has worked tirelessly to build a cyber Maryland, where NIST, other federal agencies, state and local governments, academia, and industry all work together to create jobs, protect our people, and protect our country from cyber attack. Maryland is uniquely situated to make Cyber Maryland a reality. The state has great schools, a highly educated workforce, key federal agencies like NIST, and a welcoming environment for industry. Together, those assets make the state of Maryland in general, and Montgomery County in particular, an ideal place to grow a world-class cybersecurity infrastructure. One key piece of that infrastructure, as I've just stated, is education. Today, NIST is hosting this conference on the National Initiative on Cybersecurity Education, otherwise known as the NICE or the NICE initiative. And it's not just nice, it's necessary. Educating our country about the importance of cybersecurity is one of the most significant challenges the country faces in the fight to make the internet more safe and more secure. It will take everyone here for sure, and a multitude of others who could not be here, to coordinate our efforts, communicate effectively what needs to be done, and commit to getting that job done. Again, my sincere thanks to the governor for being with us this afternoon to share his thoughts regarding the need for cybersecurity education. Governor O'Malley.
Thank you. Thanks very, very much. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you for your kindness, and thank you for keeping score of my visits. It is great to be at NIST, and thank you all. I apologize for my lateness. It's great to have the opportunity to be back here at NIST, have the chance to join you as we discuss this urgent priority. Now, I understand that you all are gathered from, 20 different departments throughout our federal government? Are there private sector people in the audience as well? And you all do contract work with these departments, I might understand? Yes? No? Maybe? Sometimes? Well, let's get down to the real important question. How many of you vote in Maryland? Show of hands. Okay, great. Let's not beat around the bush. We're getting back on schedule, by golly. It's great to be with you all. I have to confess, I'm somewhat intimidated. I know that each of you understands a lot more about this topic than I do. But I am entrusted to be the generalist in the family that's supposed to know a little bit about many different topics and have sort of a 30,000-foot view, so that maybe in my brief service I can help us kind of scope out a roadmap for increasing, improving, building upon our leadership in certain key areas. And certainly cybersecurity is one of them. You know, I grew up in Montgomery County in a small little log cabin, thatch roof, Kettler brother, not far from here. And I went to Gonzaga High School down in the District of Columbia. And one of the important lessons I learned there was Arnold Toynbee's theory of the progress of man. Of course, we know that Arnold actually meant of men and women, whether in society or as individuals. we progress in response to adversity. And we certainly have plenty of adversity facing us in this realm of cybersecurity. We have all become so dependent on this new superhighway of information that permeates every aspect of our lives. And we take a lot of these things for granted. But the adversity is great, and our country needs to get up for this greatness. In your audience tonight is Bell Yong Hong, who is my dear friend and who also was the impetus behind the cybersecurity initiative that we launched here in Maryland. When was it, Bell? Now 2 years ago? 3 years ago maybe, who's counting? And recently the University System of Maryland came back with a cybersecurity task force recommendations from its 2011 report. And I wanted to share with you at the outset the 5 recommendations that they made. One was that we conduct a comprehensive and scientific survey of government and industry workforce and skill needs in the area of cybersecurity. 2 is that we enhance and extend educational offerings, including cybersecurity courses, certificates and degrees in cybersecurity, and specialization in cybersecurity. 3 is that we leverage partnerships between educational institutions and public and private sectors. 4 is to strengthen research and support innovation and technology transfer in cybersecurity. And 5 was that we expand the career pipeline and create clear pathways for community college students to pursue 4-year degrees in a variety of cyber-related fields at institutions across the University System of Maryland. Well, as you can gather from all of those recommendations, everything that we hope to do in the realm of cyber depends on our will, on our willingness, on our capability, and our capacity to forge the consensus necessary to invest in the skills of our people. You can't move forward without them. There's no sort of workaround that will get you to where we need to be in cybersecurity if we don't educate more of our citizens and educate them in better ways. I was last year at NIST when we I'm reminded that we launched our Cyber Maryland initiative here in January of 2010. NIST is a tremendous asset in our state, and we remain hopeful that with the leadership of America's cyber senator, Barbara A. Mikulski, the A stands for always on the job, that we will be able to locate the National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence right here at NIST. When we get this done, the center can serve as a hub for connecting private sector business and innovation with federal research, and therefore strengthening our security while paving the road for greater job creation. And that is also our most urgent priority. I think we'd have to agree as a nation right now. It is job creation. Some of the jobs that were here for the last 20 or 30 years might not ever be coming back. But there are some jobs that we've never seen before in areas like cybersecurity that offer a tremendous amount of opportunity if only we have the courage to seize it. And one of the great ironies of our times, as that lesson from Toynbee suggests, is that the very immensity of the challenges in this field, the real asymmetrical threats that we face in areas like cybersecurity, are also the very things that are driving the demand, that are driving the innovation in states like Maryland, where our economy is recognized as an innovation economy, an economy that depends in great degree on the talents and the skills levels of our people. Last year, I had occasion to visit a small cybersecurity business in Baltimore City called CyberPoint International. Only probably about 20 employees when I visited it. They are going to be creating 100 new jobs in Maryland in the short-term future. And it's stories like the story of CyberPoint that we need more of, and that our country needs, that our state needs, and the next generation needs. It is not a Democratic or a Republican opinion, but rather an economic and historic fact that a modern economy, in order to create jobs, requires modern investments. And if we make the right choices and the right investments, companies like CyberPoint will show us our potential and can create more and more opportunities and more jobs. Today I wanted to share with you a few of the choices. To govern is to choose, right? And I'm the generalist known as the governor. And I wanted to share with you some of the choices and investments that we're making as a state in order to lead on cybersecurity. We have done great things as a state in the last couple of decades, largely around assets that were already here, like NIH and Johns Hopkins, to be one of the top states for life science and biotech. The other part of the wishbone offense for the innovation economy of the future here in Maryland, I truly believe, are the choices that we make where cybersecurity is concerned. And I think putting those two together, we have a lot to be hopeful about on our horizon. So let me jump in here. I think you got to practice what you preach. So let me talk a little bit about this corporation, this shared platform of ours known as our state government. Our efforts to create jobs in cybersecurity are only as strong as our ability to protect and make more resilient our own networks. I have visited Estonia. I've been to the NATO Center for Excellence there. I have heard the stories that the Estonian public officials shared with me about how their country's banking system, their government, and other networks were shut down by a cyber attack. In Maryland, we created a commission on cybersecurity, innovation, and excellence, which now brings together leaders from the public and the private sectors. We were selected by the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center to pilot an expanded cyber threat detection initiative. The center analyzes logs of computer activity to search for patterns which might indicate that there's a present threat. We are now partnering with the Maryland Air National Guard with its 59 personnel with the expertise on these issues to assess our own cyber vulnerabilities across our state government. We have established well-defined best practices and policies for all state agencies based on the high standards already set by NIST. We have connected all state chief information officers on an information technology advisory council, right? Communication, coordination, cooperation, unnatural acts between non-consenting adults. We force them all to get together and talk about how they do what they do and what they need to improve upon and do better in the area of cybersecurity is part of that group's portfolio. Our state's Office of Legislative Audits now conducts agency-wide audits of computer and data security, given the tremendous amount of sensitive identification information that your state government is entrusted with, or I should say with which your state government is entrusted. Last month we held, for the very first time, a cabinet-level security tabletop exercise to prepare for a cyber attack. Probably about 160 of us in that room, and I was there for the full couple of hours of that exercise at Anne Arundel Community College. Maryland assets. Let me move on and talk a little bit about assets. There is an adage in business that says that if you should only compete when you have a competitive advantage. And when it comes to this emerging sector of growth of cybersecurity, Maryland has a whole host of competitive advantages. So many of them represented by the men and women seated in this room today. And I would argue that there is no state better positioned than Maryland in terms of not only of the skills of our people, not only of our assets, but also our geography to lead the nation's defense against cybercrime, cyber intrusions, cyber thefts, and cyber attacks. At present, we rank 4th among the 50 states in our concentration of technology jobs. There are more than 250,000 Marylanders working in our technology sector, more than 60,000 who work in computer systems design. And we estimate that through our cyber initiatives, we can create between 24,000 and 28,000 new cyber sector jobs right here in Maryland in the not too distant future. We are home to great federal assets like NIST, the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects activity, the Joint Cyber Command, National Security Administration, Aberdeen Proving Ground, to name a few. Our colleges and universities receive more than $100 million in federal cybersecurity research dollars. I believe that's annually. And 13 of our colleges and universities cybersecurity programs have earned the highest ranking for excellence from NSA and the Federal Department of Homeland Security. Now, keep in mind, we're a state that only has 8 congressional districts, but those 13 centers of excellence, as verified by NSA, that's more than any other state in the union. It's more than Texas, it's more than California, and it's more than Illinois. So we are home literally to thousands of companies emerging, established, and wishing to expand, who are working at the cutting edge of cybersecurity. And with the highest percentage of PhD engineers and scientists per capita, our state also has what Education Magazine has said for 3 years in a row is America's #1 best statewide system of public schools. So we have one of America's most highly educated workforces, and it's because of the inputs. You know, there are good and bad consequences for the good and bad decisions that we make as a people. And when we make good decisions, like investing in education, like making college more affordable, we reap the benefits of that in terms of the job opportunities that we're able to bring to our state and fill in our state. No doubt these are continue to be difficult times. We all would like to be looking at the recession falling further and further behind in our rear view mirror. But sometimes the most important thing to do in any endeavor is to be persistent. And we are persistent here in Maryland in creating jobs with the belief that the most important job we create is the next one. So far this year, since the start of the year, we've created 14,700 jobs. Our unemployment rate is 20% less than the national rate. U.S. Chamber of Commerce ranks us in the top 5 in terms of growth potential. Ernst & Young says we have the 12th lowest tax burden on new investment for business. Forbes named us one of the top 14 states for doing business. Kauffman Foundation says we're one of the top 3 states best positioned to win in the new economy. And the bond rating agencies affirm that we're one of only 8 states that have a AAA bond rating. I say all of that not so much to encourage those of you that live in Virginia still to move across the Potomac. But I say that just to underscore the strengths that we bring to this fight and this important national imperative. And the work that you've been talking about for these last few days is so very important in all of that, advancing cybersecurity education in Maryland. We are well positioned and to create more jobs in cybersecurity and other innovation sectors. The question is whether we will fill those jobs with kids that come out of Maryland schools. The question is whether and how quickly we can move the great ideas from the labs and into commercialization to get them into the economic vein and lifeblood of our economy. These things will only be possible if we recognize that imperative again, that truth, that to create jobs, a modern economy requires modern investments. We're not going to meet this big challenge or other big challenges simply by cutting, simply by dismantling our federal government, our state government, or our local governments. Not while our global competitors, not to mention bad actors, are investing more in upping their own skills and the education of their own networks, if you will, and workforces, investing more in their own infrastructure, investing more in taking larger shares of global markets. We have to be willing to choose to work together and to come together to make the investments necessary. Especially in this area, the perimeter we defend changes every day and it changes rapidly. So we need the partnership of business, labor, and higher education, all working together in order to prepare our citizens not only for work on the cutting edge of this changing sector, but simply to stay pace, keep pace with where that edge is. Fast moving field. You know, it's been said that an immune system is strong not because it outnumbers the bad bugs. It's strong because it's better coordinated and more resilient than the bad bugs. Now, this sort of mindset, though, is something relatively new for us, Westerners. By that I mean the hemisphere, not the other side of the Mississippi. Because for 400 years, we've been kind of in reductionist mode, right? If we specialize, we'll be successful. But where cybersecurity is concerned, it really takes that more Eastern mind approach to recognize the whole, the yin and the yang, the relationships between the relationships, the connections between the connections. And government can't do it by itself, nor can private sector do it by itself, nor can simply our education apparatus, however excellent and committed. We really have to work as a system, as a whole, in order to meet these challenges and make them our opportunities. So to give you a few examples of how we're proceeding in Maryland, this wasn't designed to be a David Letterman top 10 list, so we're not going to do a drum roll at the end of it, but just in case you were wondering when he's going to stop talking, I've got 10 points I want to make. By far, the most important single investment we make together as a people in our state and the investments we make in public education. It is now 50% of what we do as a state is K-12 and college. We have made the largest investments each and every year, even through this recession, that we have ever made as a state in K-12 education. And on the capital side, we're investing a record amount in school construction, even in the face of huge budgetary challenges and cuts. We have done all this while cutting $6.8 billion out of the other things that we do in government. So investments in education. Number two, in Maryland, we've chosen to make college education more affordable rather than more expensive. In other states, they are balancing their budgets in part by increasing education by double-digit amounts every year. Instead, we went 4 years in a row, only university system, public university system in the country to do so, 4 years in a row without a penny's increase in college tuition. Number three, with federal dollars from the Obama administration, we are building the cyber infrastructure that will allow our kids to compete and win in this changing global economy, and that will connect more of our small businesses to opportunities in this global economy. We will be the first state to be as networked through broadband as we are at the conclusion of this process. It was a $115 million competitive grant from the Obama administration, and it's also going to be a tremendous help in our law enforcement fights and our ability to protect our people. Number four, we're putting a statewide priority on reinvigorating education in the STEM disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and math. Today in math, American students rank 24th out of the 34 OECD countries. A decade ago, we ranked 15th. Similarly, today, our students rank 16th in science. A decade ago, we ranked 12th. 30 years ago, when I graduated from high school, our country ranked number one in high school graduation rates among global competitors. Today, we slipped to 11th. 30 years ago, we ranked number one in college completion. Today, we've slipped to number 12. You're all aware of these trend lines. And I think you're all aware, you wouldn't have given the time to be here these last few days, that these trends are reversible. It's not what those other countries are doing to us. It's what we are not doing for ourselves. To truly invigorate STEM education, government needs the help of so many of the groups represented in this room. And we are connecting a STEM innovation network at the same time that we're revamping our curriculum. We are connecting a STEM innovation network of leaders from business, K-12, higher ed, nonprofits, and government. The Innovation Network is doing a lot of new things, like putting curricula, lesson plans, webinars, tutorials, classroom-ready experiments online so teachers across our state can access them. And the other thing that this the STEM Innovation Network does is it offers mentoring from industry professionals, pairing them up with teachers in the places where the businesses or the institutions or employment centers are located. Keeps a running roster of volunteers from business, government, and higher ed who are available to visit classrooms, talk directly with boys and girls, get their minds focused and thinking on what they might do after school. And our education department is also, a couple of further examples of things we're doing on STEM. We're partnering with Project Lead the Way, a national nonprofit that's developed a high school STEM curriculum, now being used in 14 of our 24 school systems. And our education department is developing a new statewide STEM curriculum, as I mentioned, based on the Common Core standards that will be benchmarked internationally. The goal of aligning K-12 curricula with the needs of higher ed and therefore industry, so we don't have these huge cliffs, or maybe I should call them giant steps, that our kids can't get over as they move from one section, one part of their educational career to another. So how are we doing? So far we have increased by, and these are some measurable results, so far we've increased by 23% the number of AP exams our students in high school are taking in the STEM disciplines. We have increased the number of STEM graduates from state colleges by 10%. We have more than doubled the number of teachers certified in the STEM disciplines. Now, none of those things should knock you off your socks at any one increment, but if you keep doing that over time, putting one foot in front of the other, soon you'll look over your shoulder and be surprised at what a huge difference and how much progress has been made. Number 5, the T in STEM is technology. And I truly believe a large piece of this puzzle is what we used to call vocational education in the old days. Came to get a bad name. You're pigeonholing my child by putting him in a vocational class. We call it CTE. I think most places do now, career and technology education. 42 Maryland high schools now offer an IT curriculum that was designed in partnership with the Tech Council of Maryland and businesses like Cisco, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, IBM, and Oracle. These companies are also offering mentorship and internship opportunities to our students. And over the last 4 years, we have been able to more than double student enrollment in these IT courses. So our kids are hungry. They want to do it if we make it available to them. In the next 2 school years, we're slated to bring 10 more schools online. And while other states have similar initiatives, Maryland is the first which offers a cybersecurity component to that course of study. And again, building off some of those recommendations made in the report, creating the pathways. 6, beyond high schools, we're investing through our Maryland Higher Education Commission in grants to community colleges and four-year colleges to develop cybersecurity curricula as well. 7, we've partnered with our university system to launch the Maryland Cybersecurity Center, or MC Squared. Housing experts from business and higher ed. Students participate in the center's research, gaining real-world experience that will ultimately help them land cybersecurity jobs. Number 8, thanks again to our cybersecurity, our greatest cybersecurity asset, Cyber Senator Barbara Mikulski. Maryland secured one of 2 federal grants for state cybersecurity training through an initiative called Pathways to Cybersecurity Careers. We are partnering with Anne Arundel, Howard, and Carroll counties, their community colleges, as well as with the city of Baltimore to train 1,000 Marylanders. And so far we've enrolled 680, and many of them are people who are currently without employment, but soon will find it. Number 9, to strengthen the connection between business and the public sector, we've also added a special committee on cybersecurity to the Governor's Workforce Investment Board, the GWIB. And number 10, through the University of Maryland University College, the largest public online university in the nation. Did you know that? You can win a bar bet with that. Go ahead, bet somebody. We're providing trainings in cybersecurity to employees currently working in the field. UMUC has either negotiated or is currently negotiating agreements with 40 of the 50 top firms in the cyber sector. So Those are some of the things that we have been doing to advance our leadership in cybersecurity, and in particular in preparing our workforce for the skills that they need to do these very, very important jobs. In other words, to set the table for greater job creation in a sector that is addressing threats and creating opportunities every single day. You know, I recently saw a fellow Marylander, Tom Friedman, speak at the National Governors Association out in Utah, and I'll leave you with this last thought. He, after a succinct outline of the elements of economic growth that have made this public-private partnership known as the United States of America one of the greatest opportunity expanding engines in the history of the world, he concluded by saying, quote, he said that, you know, the debate in Washington, where we've watched over these last few months, is really beneath us as a people. This notion, hey, I'm going to cut $1 trillion, and I'll match your $1 trillion, I'll raise you by another $1 trillion. Well, I'll match your $1 trillion, I'll raise you by another $1 trillion. The sort of cut. You know, who can be the fastest and quickest at dismantling that common platform of ours that allows us to create a better future for our kids? He concluded that, you know, we need to cut, and we need to raise, and we need to reinvest, because the country we need to rediscover is our own. And that is certainly so very, very true in this emerging sector. To move forward, we must create jobs, and to do that, we need to stop cutting America. We need to stop cutting our children's future, and we need to start rebuilding America. We need to re-equip our children. We need to return to the urgent work of building up the future that our children will share. That's what your work has been about these last 3 days, and that's what this sector gives us an opportunity like few in our nation to be able to do. We are a great people, and greatness is something, though, that must be achieved in every generation. The future's not a gift. It's not a lottery ticket. It is something that we must work to achieve. Look around this hall. I mean, look at the diversity of people that are represented here. You won't find a state that's better equipped for all of the reasons I mentioned, but also for one more. And that is that in our state we have the understanding, the belief, the faith, if you will, that we are all in this together, that our diversity makes us strong, and that our ability to look at new challenges and see them as new opportunities depends on our ability to see the whole, not ourselves in isolation or separation, but to be able to see ourselves not as a crowd but as a community that's putting one foot in front of the other, making the choices necessary to seize the day. Thank you all very, very much for your patience. Thanks.
Time for questions.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you all. Thanks. Thanks.
The governor has kindly agreed to take a few questions, if there are any. If you do, there are microphones on either aisles over here, and just step up and fire away.
I warn you before asking your questions that I am armed with a laser.
Governor Jeremy Epstein, I'm Virginian. I hope you'll forgive me for that. One of the things that was missing from your summary of the things that we need to do is securing the systems that get people like you elected. Maryland has the most vulnerable voting systems in the country. And I was wondering if part of the education process is how do we teach our citizens and our elected officials about the security of voting systems as a way to understand security in their daily lives?
Yeah, we've had this on our agenda for a little bit. There are many things that we have not been able to get to as quickly as we would like, and changing out our voting system was one of those. In fact, I made a commitment in the first campaign back in 2006 that we would do this. Part of it is financed or funded by local governments who have been struggling, to say the least, given declining property tax assessments and revenue. So we still hope to get to that at some point. Haven't gotten to it yet, but I can tell you from I can personally attest to the fact that the election system worked great the last time we tried it. But we do need to get to that. That sounded like a Montgomery County question. Are you sure you don't live in Montgomery County? Pretending to live in Virginia. Okay, well, you know, given the length of that, no, there's...
Hi, Brenda Oldfield with CypherPath, a technology training firm. My question is, you know, kudos for Maryland to be the cyber state and et cetera. And I know the competition for funding and for businesses and et cetera, but what we really need is for you to go to your colleagues, the other governors of the other states, and see how we can roll these successes for cybersecurity education and training and innovation across the country. So is there anything that you can suggest that possibly you could help contribute to that cause?
Yes, it's been my experience, and this is true of mayors as well. I used to be a mayor, that mayors and governors always like to be the best at doing something second. Because the R&D has already been worked out, and you can see the things that work. So they do have an institute at the National Governors Association on best practices. And as we get a little more experience under our belts, we should probably roll out some of these things as NGA best practices. And that's where the governors kind of look for ideas that they can expropriate, borrow, and employ in their own states. But the other avenue, I think, here is Secretary Napolitano has been pushing that all of the states make sure that cybersecurity is on their radar screen in terms of homeland security, preparedness, resiliency as we move forward here. Now that's something relatively new since 9/11. I mean, 10 years ago when those attacks happened, cybersecurity wasn't on our checklist as governors or as mayor. It sure as heck is now. So that's another place where I think some leadership is being shown, and that is from Secretary Napolitano and her encouraging of us. Yes, sir.
Cybersecurity is very important, and in your presentation you mentioned large institutions as University of College Park and Johns Hopkins University. But Maryland also has small institutions, minority institutions, for example, as Morgan State University, which is doing very well in that area of security. My question is, does your government plan on some extra way to support minority and small institutions?
Yes. In fact, one of those centers, I believe that one of those 13 centers is now Bowie State University, yeah, which was another one that was added to it. We make investments in terms of the capital budget. We consider our HBCUs, our historically black institutions, to be a very, very important part of the fabric of Maryland. So if I did not mention them, and I should have, and I beg for the right to go back and amend in Bowie State University, and I said it twice, BSU, and also Morgan, which produces more black engineers than any university in the country.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I can tell you the traffic was not very bad when I came in. I'm glad to be able to report that. And look, I really do appreciate your patience in waiting for me, and more importantly, I appreciate the work that you do. Bring us good ideas, and let's hang tough with one another, and so we can find a way forward. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. See you. See you, Bill. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. Thank you.